India is set to create history, and the prayers for success are coming from every direction. In a few minutes from now, Chandrayaan-3 mission's Vikram lander, currently in orbit around the moon, will begin its slow, calculated descent onto the lunar surface. The landing sequence will begin at around 5:45 p.m. and will last for 15 minutes. A period, these 15 minutes, a former ISRO chief has described these as the 15 minutes of terror. Well, if all goes well in these 15 minutes of terror, Vikram will land in an area near the lunar south pole. Shortly after that, the lander will open its doors to deploy Pragyan, a six-wheeled rover the size of a coffee table on the surface of the moon. And I am joined today by Gauhar Raza, a very eminent scientist in India. And sir, welcome to the show. And I really want to take off by asking you, uh, your first e- emotion at this moment. It's like India has come to a standstill. The only thing anyone cares about today is our dear Vikram, quote unquote, the lander from Chandrayaan that is going to be touching down on the moon's south pole shortly. While India is excited, tell us what's going through the minds of you scientists.
The emotions at the moment of almost all scientists across the country and probably beyond our borders would be almost similar what you experience when you go towards the examination center. Then you
Right.
don't know what questions are to be asked and how will you answer them, whether you are going to answer them properly or not, whether the preparation was good or not, whether it was sufficient or not. So, similar kind of unknown fears bombard your mind. But there is always an excitement when there is something that is going to charter the uncharted terrain. The uncharted terrain, I'm calling it because we have not fully been acquainted with the area where our lander is going to land. We don't know the area in a bigger sense. I'm talking about not the exact spot where it's going to land, because this area has not been scanned by human beings in a greater uh, um, depth, in fact. And
Right.
therefore, it
Right, sir. Carry on, please. Or we seem to be facing technical difficulties. Gauhar Raza's uh, uh, you know uh, visual is getting frozen, but our technical guys are on it. The Vikram lander, sir, are you back? Is it better?
can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go on, sir.
So what I was saying is that the emotions that come to your mind are of two types, in fact. One is that you are scared, you have fear, and these fears clog your mind. The other is definitely excitement that you are going to know a lot of unknown, which may be path breaking. And it has happened in the past, it can happen even now, that you encounter certain things which are completely path breaking for humanity itself, for science itself. But these crucial moments are extremely important, both in terms of learning, because you would like to master the technology of landing,
Right.
which means that any data of success or of failure is extremely important, because these moments are very important. And a lot of data will be generated. Let me assure your viewers that a lot of data of very high value to improve our technology will be generated at this moment. Last time also, a lot of data was generated. Because of that, we could improve and plug out whatever failure points were there. The other thing which is going to make it extremely exciting is that if the entire mission is successful, then we'll know a lot of those things which we don't know, which means the data about the minerals there, the data about the environment, the data about the tremors that shake the moon's surface, and also the data of looking back at Earth would be extremely important for scientific community to go ahead and probably at some point of time colonize the moon. There are two major things that are set by the scientific community across the world as the goals of reaching the moon. One is that can we colonize it? Can we harness whatever minerals are there? Can we live there? Can we develop our colonies there? Can human beings and other life forms survive there? Can we make it habitable? That is one. The second objective is equally important. The second objective is can we make it another launching pad? Can we use sun, moon as a launching pad or a fuel station? Because carrying fuel from here to moon is a challenge. Can we generate some fuel there? And from there, we can launch into space. Because a lot of fuel gets wasted here when you try to overcome the resistance of atmosphere. Those are the most difficult moment of any launch. A simple normal launch of any satellite, micro or big or small, or going to into spaces, it's extremely difficult, though we have mastered it. But always that moment gives a very high to every scientist who is involved in the launch, which you are showing. These are the moments which are extremely difficult. And they are also very expensive because initial moments are required to overcome the air resistance, atmospheric resistance, and much bigger earth pull, which requires a
Hmm.
lot of fuel, which means that if you want to send a bigger payload, it becomes extremely difficult. If you want to go to larger spaces, then it becomes extremely difficult and cover them in shortest period of time, then it becomes difficult. So these two goals, which both technologists and scientists have set for themselves, I think we will take a leap towards them if the soft landing happens. And I am very sure, and my all best wishes are with my scientist colleagues who have toiled and worked so
Right.
hard to achieve it
And not
in
just
ISRO.
you, sir. Not just you. The entire nation is praying for them, and all our,
Absolutely.
I think, a billion hands going up in prayer
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
something that the entire
I
nation is very
I
proud
would
of. There are
say
so many people who sort of joined us for this broadcast. It's unbelievable the kind of interest that people. I mean, as of now, there are thousands of people watching you just in this broadcast, and these sort of broadcasts are happening all over the country. There are people trying to bring this to the people of India because there's so much of interest in what our Indian scientists have accomplished. The proud moment, I have goosebumps talking to you. It's a very proud moment for our science, for our scientists, and for India's coming of age. Because, as I understand it, sir, this is also a quote unquote a sort of a proving mission to the world, because
absolutely.
now India will be the fourth country in the world to have soft landed on the moon. Would you like to take us through this? Why is this a proving mission, and how is that going to benefit Indian science and Indian technology going forward?
You have raised two major issues by asking these questions. One is that What benefits do we get when we achieve such a high level of goal in science? I'm talking about science. In science, when you achieve such a goal, then the scientific community across the world has confidence on you that you are at par with them. You can get benefited by their work and they can get benefited by your work. So it's a give and take situation in which science progresses and technology progresses. The other thing, the other issue which you have raised by asking this question is that how a common person gets benefited by that. There are n number of examples which one can quote when the extreme hurdles are overcome by scientific and technological missions, and then the application was thought that it can benefit the common man. When we went into space, we said, let's look at our education system. That was the first thing that came to our mind. But later on,
Hmm.
we expanded it into many other applications when our satellites went up. So, common man got benefited when we started looking at the terrain, the details, what kind of things should be sown, where the disaster has happened, how to help people there, or where the floods are coming, how to manage them. All that was thought of later on by the humanity. The first thing was to prove that we can go there. Now, right from the beginning, this particular mission has both components and very strong components. One is proving to yourself that you can do it, which means you have technology and you have mastered technology. And when I say technology, I mean, by not going into details, that you need to develop materials that can withstand extreme conditions, very high
Hmm.
pressures, very low pressures, very high temperatures, very low temperatures, very high vibrations, and almost nil vibrations. The range is so high that you need to develop a special material for that. Similarly, the kind of programming that you require, the kind of sensors that you require are extremely sensitive sensors. So, when we are talking about technology, we are saying that the technology is required to prove to yourself that you can do it. That is one. Two is that you
Right.
prove to the entire world, entire humanity, that you can do it. Your scientist can do it. And then you become part of the scientific community, international scientific community. You are not the fence sitter. You are there as scientists and technologists who can do it. So other nations, the major thing that India is going to achieve, in my opinion, is that other nations are going to get confidence that you can do it also for them in much lesser, with much lesser expenditure, which is a big thing.
Absolutely, because that's a big thing. Because while the
Yes,
US, China, Russia, they've spent much. Can you give us a sense of in how much less money are we doing this versus these other countries?
on an average, it is less than 1/10 to 1/50th. On an average,
Wow.
whatever missions we have taken, it has been very, very low expenditure. Though there are controversies related to that, but everybody accepts one thing, that our expenditure is much lesser, which also means that much poorer countries, those who do not have this technology, can look up to
True.
us, that you can do it for us
Absolutely.
also. We are interested in going and probing moon's surface, so can you do it for us? I'm not talking about the business part of it. I'm a scientist, so I don't want to get into it. But yeah,
True.
business
True.
will also grow.
Absolutely.
Business will also grow
And
because you have a larger
that's a
net
huge
now.
thing. And that's
Yeah,
a huge thing, sir. In fact, India's
exactly.
like the private sector has also been opened up for space
Yeah,
exploration now, as far as India is concerned. The sky's the limit, really, for
absolutely.
Indian scientists
Absolutely.
now,
On
given
that
that. uh,
question, I have
yes.
some apprehension, in fact, that
Okay.
of course, the technological base has to be increased. Our space program, technological base has to be increased. Only ISRO cannot bear all the load of technologies. So technologies have to be developed by small private sector, big private sector. That I accept it. But one should focus at the moment where we lack, in fact, that scientific base also has to increase. By that, what I mean is that you need to involve now universities in a much bigger way. You need to
Right.
increase the base in colleges. You have to go to school and draw on their capabilities and creativity, because the best mind survives there. From there, those uh, most creative and most intelligent young ones, most excited young ones can be drawn into higher levels of ISRO. So this base has to increase, because this data itself has to be looked at by a huge number of scientists. For that, we need to expand the scientific base for this program in future. I think that is where we are lacking. We have to give a very serious thought to increase the scientific base and involve universities, then colleges. And this is what China has done. When they sent their astronauts up there, from there they addressed every school in China and showed them experiments which cannot be carried on. We read them in textbooks, but cannot be carried on surface of Earth. They did it.
True.
Similarly, we need to involve the younger ones in a major way. This is the creative mind of future.
This is the creative mind of the future. But for the present, sir, for the present, I want to talk to you about, you talked about other countries looking up to us. You talked about India getting into the unique, a very elite global club of four countries, or we'll be the fourth country to land, soft land on the moon. But talk to me about the fact that we are going to be landing at the South Pole. Uh, that is a first for any country in the world. What's the significance of
See,
India and of ISRO planning to land, soft land on the South Pole of the moon? And how does it benefit us?
See, South Pole, the area where we are going to land, is has a significance in the sense that we know least about it. Not because just because we have not landed there, humanity has not landed there, and India is going to be probably the first country to land there. Uh, the we cannot see it directly from Earth, so we have least amount of data about this area. If we are going to colonize, and if we are going to use moon as launching pad for those for achieving both these objectives, it is extremely
Hmm.
important to know the entire uh, surface and inner core of the moon. We cannot say that we'll colonize only a part of it. Something may happen in the other part, and that can jeopardize the whole future missions. Therefore, it's extremely important to go there. In the south, where we are going to land, that area has been increased this time, and this is now becoming common knowledge that as compared to last time where it was 400 meters or something, now we have increased it to 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers, which will be scanned through, and the lander is going to select the spot where to land finally. This area is important because here there are chances that there are big holes. Some of the holes are as old as a few million billion years, when the surface of the moon was formed,
Hmm.
and these holes were created because of meteorite showers. There are some which are very young, which are latest. So there is a possibility that in these deep holes, there is ice which is still preserved. They are deep because the sun rays don't reach there, which means
Right.
if a billion years ago a very large block of ice has hit the moon's surface and created a crater, then the ice is there. That ice is accumulated. The other process we are talking about is that process which keeps on generating ice, water, and it gets evaporated. Uh, that happens much more frequently on the northern pole. There is a possibility that that process also has accumulated water and formed it in the form of, and it's there in the form of. So there are chances that we hit the water in the form of ice there, which means that it's like mm, gold mine.
That
On on moon it is definitely gold mine when we get water there in plenty.
I hear you, sir. So those are the benefits that obviously we are going to be deriving out of that. We have a ton of viewers who logged in, who are expressing their congratulations to our scientists, to the team ISRO. As you can see on your screens, we're taking those congratulations and those messages live, because this
Yeah.
is the show that we do on HT, where we take in, observations of the viewers, we put them out, we also take in questions from them, and there are a few questions that are coming in. I'd like to tell my team in the studio to start putting those questions on screen, so that we can take them one by one with you. A few questions in between. So there is a question here from
I'm
Timor.
extremely sorry I have to go to uh,
I
another
hear, sir. I
channel.
hear you, sir. I'll
Yeah.
just relieve you in five
So can we
minutes.
conclude this?
So
Yeah.
did ISRO use 100% indigenous content because Russia depended with some high-spec camera on the West for Lunar 25, which they didn't get due to war? That's a very technical question. I do you think that we should get into that?
I didn't get the question. Come up
The
again
question is,
because.
did
Uh,
ISRO use 100% indigenous content because Russia depended with some high spec camera on the West for Luna 25, which they did not get because they obviously invaded Ukraine? We've lost the connection. We've lost the connection to Gauhar sir, but I'm sure he's going to be back with us shortly. I have Dr. VK Saraswat here.
नहीं ठीक है जी
Dr. Saraswat, hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Thank
Can
you,
you
sir,
hear
for
me?
joining us. Yes, yes, absolutely. We can hear you. I'm going to introduce you to because we were just now joined by eminent scientist Gauhar Raza ji. He's back. Can we get Gauhar sir back on our on our broadcast, and then we can talk to Dr. Saraswat. Dr. Vijay Kumar Saraswat is here with us. He's former chief of DRDO. Thank you, Dr. Saraswat, for joining us. A great feat indeed, Dr. Saraswat, today for India and for our Indian scientists. Your first response, because it's the final epic moments before India's lander, Vikram lander, makes its touchdown. Dr. Saraswat, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Saraswat, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes, your thoughts, sir. We are going to make the touchdown shortly on the moon. Your thoughts at this moment. What's the excitement?
I'm very anxious and excited.
Anxious and
I have,
excited. That's the thought. That's the thing that's going through everyone's mind. Especially, I remember the images from last year. Sorry, from 4 years ago, when we were all so excited, and we did not complete the mission at that time. But having said that, and the heartbreak that followed, so yes, the anxiety must be there, but we have built in a lot of fail safes and a lot of redundancies this time around. Can you
Yeah,
talk to us about that?
yeah. In fact, I have gone through such moments in my professional life of last 45 years. Because whenever we launch missiles, we always had this time when we are just launching and we are waiting for it to complete the mission. So that is a kind of anxiety and anxiousness and the kind of excitement that is right now. Although I'm not in the control room of ISRO, but I'm facing personally. As far as this mission is concerned, I think based on the inputs what we received after the Chandrayaan-2, there has been tremendous amount of improvements that have been done by the scientists of ISRO, and those improvements are both in terms of instrumentation, in terms of the various devices which will aid in the landing process, and also the kind of throttleable engines which they have done. The power descent trajectory has been properly designed. There is a lander hazard detection and avoidance camera which will avoid us for landing it on a boulder or on a crater. And most important thing that has been done is that the entire process of landing has been simulated on the ground to the last decimal place, and
Wow.
various experimental as well as theoretical simulations have been done, which gives us a lot of confidence on the software as well as on the hardware. Number of redundancies have been introduced both in terms of extra propulsion fuel, in terms of extra sensors like radio altimeter is there, laser altimeter is there, laser Doppler velocity meter is there. So you see the very many redundancies also have been provided to avoid any kind of failure. Second thing is the Lunar 2 orbiter also has been brought in loop. The images which are going to be taken by the Lunar 2 have been put as the reference images for the Lunar 3 to actually compare them and finally identify the spot for landing. So I think there is a tremendous amount of scientific work that has gone in, and thanks to the good work, I'm quite certain that this mission is very robust and this is going to be successful. I'm very, very hopeful of that.
You're very hopeful that it is going to be a successful mission. You know what we've heard? I was speaking to an ISRO scientist yesterday, sir, and he told me that the biggest fail-safe that's put in place is that if anything goes wrong today, anything, I know you've said nothing can go wrong. We've done everything. We've done a simulation exercise to the last T. But he said that a second soft landing attempt will be made on August 24 then, and touchdown could also be postponed to October 27th. So the Chandrayaan will stay in orbit there only. And the first attempt today, if it doesn't happen, it will take place tomorrow or on August 27th, depending on what our ISRO side. So we're determined to go through this time.
I don't anticipate that it will have a postponement because the kind of precision which we have obtained now in tracking the moon, basically the postpone comes only if there are very adverse conditions with respect to the movement of moon. And the kind of tracking which has been done by the orbiter of Lunar 2, the images and the communication which we are getting certainly gives us a lot of hope and confidence that today's launch will certainly become successful. But yes, like any scientist, any mission, redundancies have to be done in case of any adverse movement of the moon or any of the other functional diversions of the lander. If we have to take a chance, then we can certainly do it tomorrow or on 27. These dates are selected based upon the locations where we want to land with respect to the motion of our lander, and, orbiter and lander, and with respect to the movement of the moon. So these are dates which are identified based upon that. I'm sure we may not need that, but certainly the redundancies in the mission have been incorporated.
Absolutely, sir. We'll not need it, definitely. And we are all, I think, a billion hands have gone on in prayer today. So we're definitely not going to need it. Everything is going to go hunky dory. We're all very excited. We're all praying and we're all cheering for for ISRO, for India. And, uh, the one aspect of this entire thing is that this will be a there will be a power descent happening. Those 15 minutes of terror, as a former ISRO director informed us, India will be attempting that for the first time, power descent. Uh, Tell us about that.
You see, the descent is a very complex process. As you know, when the satellite is orbiting around the moon, it will be at an altitude of something like 25 kilometers, and it will have a velocity of almost 1.68 kilometers per second. That's a high velocity, and it will be horizontal. So the whole process of making this horizontal from 1.68 to vertical, gradually following a predetermined path, is what is called the major descent. And you have to make it from horizontal to vertical slowly. You have to reduce the speed. You have to also do multiple functions like checking whether you are heading in the right direction or not. So there are cameras which will be checking at the, so you come to something like 7.4 kilometers, then you are almost not vertical, but your speed comes down to about 330 meters per second. Then you come to 6.8 kilometers, you hover around there for some time, check whether you are in the right direction, and then come to about another 1.3 to 800 meters. And at 150 meters, when you are there and you are almost static at that time, you are checking whether it is now moving in the right spot which we have selected. That's the time of decision when you will check whether there are any boulders in the way or any craters in the way. If all that is fine, then you will power the descent at that time, bring the velocity to something like 1 to 2 meters per second, and then gradually descend down, which will be happening from 10 meters down onwards. So this is a very complex process, and the entire process is autonomous. That means there's a lot of database that has gone into it, and the artificial intelligence also has been incorporated to predict what are the likely deviations that can take place and how to correct them. So this is a very strong, intelligent, autonomous system which our lander is today. Vikram lander is there, and I'm sure it will be able to take care of any deviations, either in terms of attitude or in terms of velocity or in terms of altitude. I think all that will be possible because we have a throttleable engine which will be able to control the velocity in all three directions. We have a very strong navigation system which measures all the attitude and velocities and accelerations. And the software is also very robust. So I am quite certain that this terror, as you call it, 15 minutes of terror, the intelligent and smart lander will be able to take care of that.
So the Vikram, along with the Pragyan, that rover it carries in its belly, the moment they land, they will perform a series of experiments. What can you Can you just in layman's language tell our viewers what these experiments, the initial experiments, are going to be?
Actually, it's a very elaborate system of measurements because the number of sensors which have been put on, each one is playing a major role. For example, first of all, our orbiter itself has got what is called a spectropolarimetry habitable planet, what we call it a shape. Its purpose is basically to behavior of light reflected from the Earth's atmosphere from the vantage point on the moon. Light, when it is going from the Earth's atmosphere into the sun, onto the moon, how it gets reflected. Then
Right.
on the lander module, we have got an instrument which is for radio anatomy of the moon, bound hypersensitive. That is one which will actually measure the density of the surface near the surface plasma and the density of the moon. That is what it is going to do. Then, of course, we have another instrument which is what we call as chest, and this chest is basically to measure the thermal properties of the lunar surface near the polar region. You know, we are landing at the polar South Pole mainly because of two reasons. One is South Pole is the region which has got variations in temperatures, even going to daytime about 53 degrees to about minus 203 degrees, and there are regions which are actually completely not exposed to sun at all. So we will be in a position to get what is called the origin of moon. How did it originate? Because that is not been subjected to the various sun's radiations and so on. So we may have the coldest points, and that will give us data. Another instrument that we have is the instrument ELSA, which is basically going to measure the seismicity of around the landing site and how much the seismic behavior of that is there. Similarly, there's a laser reflectometer which is going to reflect the high precision lasers. And on the rover, we have got two instruments which are actually going to measure the minerals as well as the various elements which are present, like calcium, sodium, magnesium, which are present in the soil of the moon surface. So these are the instruments, these are the experiments which will be done. The data will be collected by the rover, collected by the lander, communicated to the orbiter and back to the ground. So that is and that's a 14 days exercise. That is 1 day on the moon. Till the sun is rising, we will be doing all these experiments. So 1 day on the moon is 14 days on the sun. That is on the earth. That's the kind of thing.
Right. 1 day on the moon is 14 days on Earth, and that's equivalent to 1 day on the moon is what our experiments are going to last till the sun rises.
That is the way rover will be doing all experiments when this will happen.
Fascinating, sir. Tell us, there are a lot of questions that are coming in from our viewers. I'm going to take them one by one on the screen and put them to you, because there are a lot of viewers who tuned in. There is a lot of curiosity. They have a lot of questions. So we will get them to you and start getting them to you. But tell us about, because I see that a lot of viewers are logging in from across the world. There's someone from Fiji, there's someone from Russia, there's someone from Antarctica, there are people from the US. People are watching, and people are watching the progress of the Chandrayaan. The interest is not just in India, it's in the entire world. So it makes us all very proud. But what's the sense that you've got from the international community about our Chandrayaan-3 mission?
You see, we are going to be the first nation which will be able to land our lander and rover onto the South Pole. No nation has done so far. So this is one of the major, and South Pole is a very treacherous track, because this is full of boulders, full of craters. So the precision of landing is very, very important. And the data which is going to emerge out of it will give us multiple observations, like I mentioned to you some of them: minerals, mineralogy, seismicity, presence of helium, and then more than that, if we have to make habitats, what are the kind of things which we can do using the soil characteristics as well as the seismicity data and so on. So helium is one major element which is of our great interest, because it gives energy. Helium, if you can collect from moon, the entire requirement of Earth's energy can be met by that particular element. So that is the kind of interest international community also has, because this is an undiscovered area. And since it is like that, the data will be useful for the international community globally. And I think both NASA, ESA, all of them are looking at us. Not only looking at us, they are supporting us in this mission in many ways. So this is, I would say, it's a global mission from that point of view.
So right now, how far is it from the moon? That's Sagur Teller, one of our viewers, who's asking, how much distance is there between the Chandrayaan and between Chandrayaan-3 and the moon right now?
See, it was in an orbit which is called 25 kilometer by 134 kilometer elliptical orbit. So only when precisely it will come to its 25 kilometer altitude point. So it will be anything between 25 kilometers to 130. I won't know the exact position right now, but it will be somewhere in between that, because it's still coming. When it comes to that location, as we call it, the perigee point, from their point onwards, the 25 kilometer altitude will be achieved. And that is a descent point that will start. That is from where the commands will start operating and putting it in the right orientation for it to start descending.
Okay. Another user, Fire Norms, is asking, how advanced is the AI used on the lander? Lots of, interest on artificial intelligence these days, not just in India, but globally. And so there's a question about AI being used on the lander.
As I mentioned to you, there are collision avoidance cameras which are actually looking at the current images which are taken by the orbiter and the land orbiter and will be taken by the lander later. And these images will be compared with the images which have been taken by the lunar Chandrayaan-2 orbiter, which has been in orbit for many years so far, for almost more than 2 years. So it has given lots of information about the South Pole, and that information is taken as a reference. And that reference image with the current images will be, so those reference images will be used as data, and that data will act as as a tool for artificial intelligence to make predictions as to where it is going to be the right point of descent. So that is the where AI will coming. That is one part. Second part, AI will be coming in the guidance mechanisms. When you do control and guidance of the altitude and the velocity, this is another thing which takes into account the variations in the gravity of the moon, which will be part of the algorithms which they will be catering for. So that will also be part of that. So many such factors, which are atmospheric factors, which are terrestrial factors, which are all image factors, they will all be input data for the artificial intelligence, for the algorithms which have been worked out for control, guidance, controlling the trajectory, and when the image signal processing, and also deciding the descent point.
I hope that answers your question, dear viewer. There's another one from All in One. What's the velocity of the lander when it will land on the moon? What will be the velocity, the speed at which it's going?
When it will land on the balloon, it will be between 1 and 2 meters per second.
Oh, 1 and 2 meters per second.
It has
So
been
that
designed,
means,
yeah.
so
Actually, it
that's
has been
interesting.
designed even up to 3 meters per second it can land. That is an improvement that has been done in the lunar this Chandrayaan-3 vis-a-vis the Chandrayaan-2, where it was restricted to less than 2 meters. So here we have made it more robust, more strong. The limbs which are going to directly come in contact with the surface of the moon are stronger to take the impact up to even 3 meters per second velocity.
So lots of questions coming in, sir, about what is different between Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. I'd like to tell our viewers to please go back into this conversation. That question has been asked and answered with the scientists who were here with us before. What is very important, sir, is the race at which, the whole space race or the moon race, so to speak. There are many other countries who are who were wanting to go to the moon in the same time period. There was Japan, but they shelved their plans. There was Russia, which made its attempt but did not make it. The Lunar 25, it sort of collided and it didn't. The mission sort of failed. Uh, India will now be the first country, uh, if our with a successful landing of the Vikram today. India will become the first country in the entire world to land on the moon's south pole. So, your thoughts on Luna 25 and why that mission failed?
You see, it's very difficult to predict right now. But one thing I can imagine right now is that because of the Russia-Ukraine war, which is happening today, the kind of tracking support which the rest of the world community used to provide to Russians while such
Okay.
missions were being executed, I think many of them have withdrawn that support. So, to that extent, there is a lack of information in tracking and telemetry system for the Russians. Right now, they could use only the Russian and the Crimea. That is the two locations from where they could do that. In normal case, the other tracking agencies also would have given them input data. So when you issue commands, certainly you have lack of information, and that lack of information sometimes can give you wrong commands, which can make it deviate from the desired path. This is my first cut analysis, but there could be more reasons which I cannot predict right now because I don't have data.
Absolutely, and the head of the Russian space agency has already gone on record to say that it's the lost experience, because I think their moon mission came almost 50 years or 40 years, decades after their previous moon mission. He said there's a lot of lost experience that sort of led to this. We weren't quick enough, and we weren't faster enough with this moon mission. But with this, India goes into a very elite club, sir, with the landing of Vikram, with the soft landing of Vikram on the moon. India goes into an elite club of becoming the fourth nation in the world to soft land on the moon, and the first to soft land on the south side of the moon. What is the benefit that the average, for the general public, what is the importance of Chandrayaan-3? And that's a question that Nitish Bhardwaj is asking.
See, Chandrayaan-3 is a forerunner for the many future missions which are going to come. For example, we are going to have our Gaganyaan. We are going to have manned space flights. We are going to have Mangalyaan mission. We are going to send our satellites towards Mangal. We are also going to have a Venus mission. We are also going into deep space probes so in all such missions, these technologies which are established during Chandrayaan-3, they become a major foundation stone. Whether it is the launch vehicle, whether it is the tracking system, it is the deep space communication system, whether it is the command control which we can exercise for orienting the when tomorrow when we have Gaganyaan, when we are trying to send a person, a human being on the moon, in the space. I think the kind of reliability and robustness that would be needed will be of a much higher order. So unless we establish all that in such missions, we will not be able to perform those complicated missions. So this is the importance of Chandrayaan-3. We have learned a lot from Chandrayaan-2. We have learned a lot from Chandrayaan-1. We have learned a lot from our Mangalyaan mission. I am sure this mission also will augment our capability, database, our instrumentation, our tracking system, our perseverance to handle the deviations that take place due to the various disturbances that happen in the space. It could be due to the sun's radiation, it could be due to solar dust, it could be due to other factors which are unknown to us. I think all this happens as part of this. So this is a very good learning exercise. It gives us a great footing for our future missions.
And also, sir, I was speaking to another scientist before you, and he pointed out how we've done it at a fraction of the cost that developed nations have done this, or other nations like China, Russia, and the US have done this.
Yeah, I couldn't follow what you said. Please, can you repeat?
At a fraction of the cost that other nations like the US, Russia,
Yeah.
and China.
I fully agree with you. This
About
is
the cost of the mission. Yeah.
Indian missions have always been cheaper than the missions done by the Western world. It is our all missions, whether it was the Chandrayaan-1 or it was Mangalyaan, or even now this mission is just costing 615 crores. And the previous mission was about, I think, 900 crores or something of that order. So these are missions which are almost 1/5 of the cost of the missions cost which the other countries have been following. So to that extent, I think Indian science has been very low cost mission, but we are capable of doing best of the quality work with the least of the resources.
What does this mean for India's scientific community, for India's science? What does it mean for exporting this low cost model of going to the moon to the rest of the world? There are a lot of developing countries there who want to achieve this feat but have not been able to because of A, lack of technology, B, the exorbitant costs involved.
There is a term called space economy. And India is now becoming a major player in the space economy, which is commercial launches of variety of satellites, both for the civil applications as well as defense applications. And this will be so when we start looking at habitats on moon. So the cost of sending a person on moon or an equipment on moon for doing mineral explorations and all that will count a lot. So India's missions being done at a low cost will have a great impact as far as our competitiveness with respect to other nations are concerned. I'm sure we will be a better player, we will be more competitive player with this kind of a low cost for the missions when the race for space economy builds up, when multiple agencies are capable of doing SIT missions, but cost and quality will be the two parameters which will dictate and make you a winner.
And the opening up of India's space sector, allowing private players into this sector, that also will contribute towards the effort, isn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, you know that government of India has made many major decisions in this regard. We have brought in more and more private agencies to participate in the building of satellites, launching satellites. We have large number of startups which are working today for building nano and mini satellites and so on. Even startups are making launch vehicles today. They are setting up launch pads. So I think this has really kindled the imagination of the nation as a whole, and this Chandrayaan Mission 3 will augment that further. I'm 100% certain. The kind of excitement I see in the young people today, the urge to join the space, the urge to do space rocketry. What I used to feel as a scientist, young scientist, when I was in 1970, I wanted to do missiles. And that kind of an excitement I'm seeing now on the face of large number of youngsters in the schools and colleges, all because of the missions which have been done by the Department of Space and DRDO on the missile front.
I thank you so much for your time, sir. I'm going to request all our viewers to continue joining us, because we are going to put this entire thing again, and in a short while from now, this conversation we're going to replay, and in a short while from now, we're going to also play the actual moments of when the rover will start the touchdown. Before you go, sir, tell us. How long, what are the time, when do you see the landing actually happening? What time will the lander hit the moon's surface?
603 is the time.
6:03 is the time, so
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
barely 1 hour and 3 minutes. So viewers, stay tuned. In 1 hour and 3 minutes exactly, we are going to bring you. Actually, much before that, we're going to start bringing you images from the moon, from space, from ISRO. We're going to start bringing you the excitement and everything else that goes with it. For now, it's best of luck from everyone here in the studio, sir, to our great moon mission. The actually, as I put it to somebody, is that the Vikram, dear Vikram, is going to kiss the moon today.
I wish all the complete nation all the very best for this mission.
Thank you, sir. Stay tuned, viewers. Don't go anywhere. We're just coming back
Thank
to
you.
you in a minute.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Will begin its slow calculation. India is set to create history, and the prayers for success are coming from every direction. In a few minutes from now, Chandrayaan-3 mission's Vikram lander, currently in orbit around the moon, will begin its slow, calculated descent onto the lunar surface. The landing sequence will begin at around 5:45 p.m. and will last for 15 minutes. A period, these 15 minutes, a former ISRO chief has described these as the 15 minutes of terror. Well, if all goes well in these 15 minutes of terror, Vikram will land in an area near the lunar south pole. Shortly after that, the lander will open its doors to deploy Pragyan, a six-wheeled rover the size of a coffee table on the surface of the moon. And I am joined today by Gauhar Raza, a very eminent scientist in India. And sir, welcome to the show. And I really want to take off by asking you, uh, your first emotion at this moment. It's like India has come to a standstill. The only thing anyone cares about today is our dear Vikram, quote unquote, the lander from Chandrayaan that is going to be touching down on the moon's south pole shortly. While India is excited, tell us what's going through the minds of you scientists.
The emotions at the moment of almost all scientists across the country and probably beyond our borders would be oh, almost similar what you experience when you go towards the examination center. Then
Right.
you don't know what questions are to be asked and how will you answer them, whether you are going to answer them properly or not, whether the preparation was good or not, whether it was sufficient or not. So, similar kind of unknown fears bombard your mind. But there is always an excitement when there is something that is going to charter the uncharted terrain. The uncharted terrain, I'm calling it because we have not fully been acquaintanced with the area where our lander is going to land. We don't know the area in a bigger sense. I'm talking about, not the exact spot where it's going to land, because this area has not been scanned by human beings in a greater uh, um, depth, in fact. And
Right.
therefore, it means
Right, sir. Carry on, please. Or we seem to be facing technical difficulties. Gauhar Raza's uh, uh, you know uh, visual is getting frozen, but our technical guys are on it. The Vikram lander, sir, are you back? Is it better?
can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go on, sir.
So what I was saying is that the emotions that come to your mind are of two types, in fact. One is that you are scared, you have fear, and these fears clog your mind. The other is definitely excitement that you are going to know a lot of unknown, which may be path breaking. And it has happened in the past, it can happen even now, that you encounter certain things which are completely path breaking for humanity itself, for science itself. But these crucial moments are extremely important, both in terms of learning, because you would like to master the technology of landing,
Right.
which means that any data of success or of failure is extremely important, because these moments are very important. And a lot of data will be generated. Let me assure your viewers that a lot of data of very high value to improve our technology will be generated at this moment. Last time also, a lot of data was generated. Because of that, we could improve and plug out whatever failure points were there. The other thing which is going to make it extremely exciting is that if the entire mission is successful, then we'll know a lot of those things which we don't know, which means the data about the minerals there, the data about the environment, the data about the tremors that shake the moon's surface, and also the data of looking back at Earth would be extremely important for scientific community to go ahead and probably at some point of time colonize the moon. There are two major things that are set by the scientific community across the world as the goals of reaching the moon. One is that can we colonize it? Can we harness whatever minerals are there? Can we live there? Can we develop our colonies there? Can human beings and other life forms survive there? Can we make it habitable? That is one. The second objective is equally important. The second objective is, can we make it another launching pad? Can we use sun, moon as a launching pad or a fuel station? Because carrying fuel from here to moon is a challenge. Can we generate some fuel there, and from there we can launch into space? Because a lot of fuel gets wasted here when you try to overcome the resistance of atmosphere. Those are the most difficult moment of any launch. A simple normal launch of any satellite, micro or big or small, or going to into spaces, it's extremely difficult, though we have mastered it. But always that moment gives a very high to every scientist who is involved in the launch, which you're showing. These are the moments which are extremely difficult. And they are also very expensive, because initial moments are required to overcome the air resistance, atmospheric resistance, and much bigger earth pull, which requires a lot of fuel, which means that if you want to send a bigger payload, it becomes extremely difficult. If you want to go to larger spaces, then it becomes extremely difficult, and cover them in shortest period of time, then it becomes difficult. So these two goals, which both technologists and scientists have set for themselves, I think we will take a leap towards them if the soft landing happens. And I'm very sure, and my all best wishes are with my scientist colleagues who have toiled and worked so
Right.
hard to achieve it
And not
in
just
ISRO.
you, sir. Not just you. The entire nation is praying for them, and all our,
Absolutely.
I think, a billion hands going up in prayer
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
something that the entire nation is very proud of. There
I
are so
would
many
say,
people who sort of joined us for this broadcast. It's unbelievable the kind of interest that people. I mean, as of now, there are thousands of people watching you just in this broadcast, and these sort of broadcasts are happening all over the country. There are people trying to bring this to the people of India because there's so much of interest in what our Indian scientists have accomplished. The proud moment, I have goosebumps talking to you. It's a very proud moment for our science, for our scientists, and for India's coming of age. Because, as I understand it, sir, this is also a quote unquote a sort of a proving mission to the world, because
absolutely.
now India will be the fourth country in the world to have soft landed on the moon. Would you like to take us through this? Why is this a proving mission, and how is that going to benefit Indian science and Indian technology going forward?
You have raised two major issues by asking these questions. One is that what benefits do we get when we achieve such a high level of goal in science? I'm talking about science. In science, when you achieve such a goal, then the scientific community across the world has confidence on you that you are at par with them. You can get benefited by their work, and they can get benefited by your work. So it's a give and take situation in which science progresses and technology progresses. The other issue which you have raised by asking this question is that how a common person gets benefited by that. There are n number of examples which one can quote when the extreme hurdles are overcome by scientific and technological missions, And then the application was thought that it can benefit the common man. When we went into space, we said, let's look at our education system. That was the first thing that came to our mind. But later on,
Hmm.
we expanded it into many other applications when our satellites went up. So common man got benefited when we started looking at the terrain, uh, the details, what kind of things should be sown, where the disaster has happened, how to help people there, or where the floods are coming, how to manage them. All that was thought of later on by the humanity. The first thing was to prove that we can go there. Now, right from the beginning, this particular mission has both components and very strong components. One is proving to yourself that you can do it, which means you have technology and you have mastered technology. And when I say technology, I mean, by not going into details, that you need to develop materials that can withstand extreme conditions, very high
Hmm.
pressures, very low pressures, very high temperatures, very low temperatures, very high vibrations and almost nil vibrations. The range is so high that you need to develop a special material for that. Similarly, the kind of programming that you require, the kind of sensors that you require are extremely sensitive sensors. So when we are talking about technology, we are saying that the technology is required to prove to yourself that you can do it. That is one. Two is that you
Right.
prove to the entire world, entire humanity, that you can do it. Your scientists can do it. And then you become part of the scientific community, international scientific community. You are not the fence sitter. You are there as scientists and technologists who can do it. So other nations, the major thing that India is going to achieve, in my opinion, is that other nations are going to get confidence that you can do it also for them in much lesser expenditure, which is a big thing.
Absolutely, because that's a big thing. Because while the US,
Yes.
China, Russia, they've spent much. Can you give us a sense of in how much less money are we doing this versus these other countries?
On an average, it is less than 1/10 to 1/50th. On an average,
Wow.
whatever missions we have taken, it has been very, very low expenditure. Though there are controversies related to that, but everybody accepts one thing, that our expenditure is much lesser, which also means that much poorer countries, those who do not have this technology, can look up to
True.
us, that you can do it for us
Absolutely.
also. To achieve, in my opinion, is that other nations are going to get confidence that you can do it also for them in much lesser, with much lesser expenditure, which is a big thing.
Absolutely, because that's a big thing. Because while the
Yes.
US, China, Russia, they've spent much. Can you give us a sense of in how much less money are we doing this versus these other countries?
On an average, it is less than 1/10 to 1/50th. On an average,
Wow.
whatever missions we have taken, it has been very, very low expenditure. Though there are controversies related to that, but everybody accepts one thing, that our expenditure is much lesser, which also means that much poorer countries, those who do not have this technology, can look up to
True.
us, that you can do it for us
Absolutely.
also. We are interested in going and probing moon's surface. So can you do it for us? I'm not talking about the business part of it. I'm a scientist, so I don't want to get into it. But yeah,
True.
business
True.
will also grow.
Absolutely.
Business will also
And
grow because you have a larger
that's a
net
huge
now.
thing. And that's
Yeah,
a huge thing, sir. In fact, India's
exactly.
like the private sector has also been opened up for space
Yeah,
exploration now, as far as India is concerned. You know, the sky's the limit really for
absolutely.
Indian scientists
Absolutely.
now,
On
given
that
that. uh,
question, I have
Yes,
some apprehension, in fact, that of course the technological base has to be increased. Our space program technological base has to be increased. Only ISRO cannot bear all the load of technologies. So technologies have to be developed by small private sector, big private sector. That I accept it. But one should focus at the moment where we lack, in fact, that scientific base also has to increase. By that, what I mean is that you need to involve now universities in a much bigger way. You need to
right.
increase the base in colleges. You have to go to school and draw on their capabilities and creativity, because the best mind survives there. From there, those uh, most creative and most intelligent young ones, most excited young ones can be drawn into higher levels of ISRO. So this base has to increase, because this data itself has to be looked at by a huge number of scientists. For that, we need to expand the scientific base for this program in future. I think that is where we are lacking. We have to give a very serious thought to increase the scientific base and involve universities, then colleges. And this is what China has done. When they sent their astronauts up there, from there they addressed every school in China and showed them experiments which cannot be carried on. We read them in textbooks, but cannot be carried on surface of Earth. They did it.
True.
Similarly, we need to involve the younger ones in a major way. This is the creative mind of future.
This is the creative mind of the future. But for the present, sir, for the present, I want to talk to you about, you talked about other countries looking up to us. You talked about India getting into the unique, a very elite global club of four countries, or we'll be the fourth country to land, soft land on the moon. But talk to me about the fact that we are going to be landing at the South Pole.
तैयार और उत्सुक हैं। जी हाँ, इसरो के गौरवपूर्ण इतिहास में एक और अध्याय जुड़ने जा रहा है और आज हम सब लोग इसके साक्षी बनेंगे। आप ये सारे विजुअल्स अपने स्क्रीन पर इसरो के मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स यानी मॉक से देख रहे हैं, जो कि बेंगलुरु में स्थित टेलीमेट्री ट्रैकिंग एंड कमांड नेटवर्क इस ट्रैक से प्रसारित किया जा रहा है। ये विजुअल्स आपको पावर डिसेंट के काउंटडाउन और उस पथ को प्रदर्शित कर रहा है जिस पे चलकर लैंडर आज चंद्रमा के साउथ पोल पे सेफ और सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करेगा। आपको ध्यान दिला दूं, इस समय हम लोग पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने से लगभग 22 मिनट दूर हैं। जो दर्शक थोड़ी देर से जुड़े हैं उनकी जानकारी के लिए बता दें, आप लोग इस ऐतिहासिक पल को इसरो के ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट, फेसबुक, ट्विटर और यूट्यूब पे भी देख सकते हैं।
Honorable dignitaries, delegates, scientists, media personnel, and dear viewers, a very good evening to all of you. We at ISRO welcome you to the live coverage of India's prestigious Chandrayaan-3 mission's landing event on the lunar surface. These are the visuals from Mission Operation Complex at ISRO's Telemetry Tracking and Command Network, ISTRAC, situated in Namma, Bengaluru, Karnataka. I, Arushi Seth, and my colleague, Dr. Padamdeo Mishra, are your hosts for the evening and shall accompany you on the journey of the landing event from powered descent start to touchdown. Today, we shall be witnessing the final phase of the critical and most technologically challenging mission operations of Chandrayaan 3, wherein the lander module will be making a safe and soft landing on the surface of the moon. These display screens show the countdown to the power descent start as well as the path that will be followed by the lander module. We are 18 minutes away from the commencement of power descent. India is at the brink of creating history as we all await with bated breath to witness the landing on Moon's south polar region.
इसरो का पहला मून मिशन चंद्रयान 1 अक्टूबर 2008 में पीएसएलवी। धन्यवाद आरुषि। अगर मैं सही मायने में कहूं तो अंतरिक्ष का कोई भी मिशन हो और चाहे किसी भी देश के द्वारा संचालित किया जा रहा हो, इसरो मिशन की निश्चितता और अनिश्चितता के बीच बहुत ही महीन अंतर होता है, जिससे कि एक मिशन सफल या असफल होता है। लेकिन ना हम थके ना हम हारे। हमने पिछली कमियों को सुधारते हुए आज पूरी तरह से आश्वस्त किया है कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल निश्चित तौर पे चंद्रमा के सतह पर सेफ और सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करेगा। सभी दर्शकों के जानकारी के लिए अब हम इसरो के अब तक के सभी लूनर मिशंस को संक्षिप्त विवरण प्रस्तुत करेंगे। जी हाँ, इसरो का पहला मून मिशन चंद्रयान 1 अक्टूबर 2008 में पीएसएलवी रॉकेट के द्वारा सफलतापूर्वक प्रक्षेपित किया गया था। चंद्रयान 1 ने चंद्रमा के सतह पर पानी की खोज करके पहले ही इतिहास रच चुका है। यही कारण है कि आजकल विश्व के तमाम अंतरिक्ष वैज्ञानिक और स्पेस एजेंसियां चंद्रमा को और करीब से जानने के लिए उत्सुक दिख रही हैं। अगर हम बात करें चंद्रयान 2 की, जो इसरो का दूसरा मिशन है, जुलाई 2019 में इसरो के सबसे ताकतवर रॉकेट LVM-3 द्वारा सफलतापूर्वक प्रक्षेपित किया गया था और आज भी लगभग 4 साल बाद यह चंद्रमा के 100 किलोमीटर के सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में घूमते हुए बहुत ही उत्तम क्वालिटी का डेटा प्रदान कर रहा है। मिशन के प्रारंभ में इसकी आयु 1 साल निर्धारित की गई थी, परंतु LVM-3 द्वारा बहुत ही सटीक इंजेक्शन और मिशन मैनेजमेंट की वजह से चंद्रयान 2 काफी लंबे समय तक कार्यरत रहेगा। अब तक चंद्रयान 2 चंद्रमा के लगभग सभी भागों का चित्र ले चुका है। इसका एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण पेलोड OHRC यानी कि ऑर्बिटर हाई रेजोल्यूशन कैमरा विश्व का सबसे बेहतरीन कैमरा है, जो कि चंद्रमा की सतह का लगातार पिक्चर भेज रहा है। अब मैं आरुषि जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो आप लोगों को इसरो के वर्तमान मिशन चंद्रयान 3 के बारे में बताएं।
अभी आपने मिश्रा जी के द्वारा सुना इसरो के अब तक के लूनार मिशंस का विवरण। अब चलते हैं towards Chandrayaan-3, the follow-up mission of Chandrayaan-2, which has been designed to accomplish our mission goals. The primary objective of Chandrayaan-3 mission is the demonstration of safe and soft landing on the lunar surface. This demonstration is a critical aspect for ISRO's future interplanetary missions. In addition to this, the mission objectives also include demonstration of roving capability and conduction of in situ scientific experiments on Moon's surface. Carried on the shoulders of India's heaviest rocket LVM-3 on the 14th of July, Chandrayaan-3 was placed in the precise elliptic parking orbit of size 170 by 36,500 kilometers. ISRO, in its mission plan of following the incremental trajectory approach, carried a total of 5 earthbound maneuvers. The fifth apogee raising maneuver, which took place on the 25th of July, placed the spacecraft in an orbit of 250 by 1,27,000 kilometers. At the early hours of 1st August, the translunar injection was carried out, after which the composite module began the final leg of its long journey of nearly 384,000 kilometers for its rendezvous with the moon. The TLI was a key step in the mission, enabling the spacecraft to escape Earth's gravitational pull and travel to the moon. An orbit of 288 by 369,328 kilometers was achieved at the end of the translunar injection.
जी हाँ, ट्रांसलूनर इंजेक्शन किसी भी इंटरप्लेनेटरी मिशन के लिए बहुत ही आवश्यक परंतु कठिन ऑपरेशन होता है। इस सफल मैन्यूवर के बाद चंद्रयान-3 पृथ्वी से दूर निकलकर चंद्रमा के प्रभाव क्षेत्र में एक हाइपरबोलिक ट्रेजेक्ट्री के द्वारा पहुंचाया गया। पुनः 5 अगस्त 2023 को लूनर ऑर्बिट इंसर्शन के द्वारा चंद्रयान-3 को 160 किलोमीटर के पेरिलून और 18,000 किलोमीटर के अपोलून के साथ चंद्रमा के इलिप्टिकल ऑर्बिट में स्थापित कर दिया गया। टीएलआई के तरह एलओआई भी एक बहुत जटिल ऑपरेशन होता है। इसमें हमें यह ध्यान देना आवश्यक होता है कि उपग्रह के वेगमान को एक निश्चित बिंदु से घटाया जा सके, अन्यथा उपग्रह चंद्रमा के प्रभाव क्षेत्र से बाहर निकल जाएगा। एलओआई के सफलतापूर्वक परिचालन के बाद चंद्रयान-3 की कक्षा को 4 बार और परिवर्तित किया गया। इस दौरान चंद्रमा की अधिकतम ऊंचाई को घटाकर 160 किलोमीटर कर दिया गया। इस पूरी प्रक्रिया में propulsion मॉड्यूल का लगभग 755 किलोग्राम ईंधन का उपयोग हुआ और चंद्रयान-3 के वेगमान को लगभग 850 मीटर प्रति सेकंड कम कर दिया गया। लैंडर मॉड्यूल को लगभग 150 किलोमीटर के सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट में स्थापित करने के बाद 17 अगस्त 2023 को propulsion मॉड्यूल से अलग कर दिया गया। पुनः लैंडर मॉडल के ऑर्बिट को 2 डीबूस्ट मैन्यूवर्स के द्वारा 150 किलोमीटर के सर्कुलर ऑर्बिट से घटाकर 25 गुणे 130 किलोमीटर के एलिप्टिकल ऑर्बिट में स्थापित कर दिया गया। इस दौरान यह भी सुनिश्चित कर दिया गया कि 800 न्यूटन के चारों थ्रोटेबल थ्रस्टर्स पावर डिसेंट के समय किसी भी चुनौती का सामना कर सकें। लैंडर मॉड्यूल इस ऑर्बिट में 4 दिन तक चंद्रमा की परिक्रमा करता रहा ताकि इसके सभी सब सिस्टम को पावर डिसेंट से पहले कार्यात्मक रूप से वेरीफाई और वैलिडेट किया जा सके। इस दौरान चंद्रयान-2 और लैंडर मॉड्यूल की आपस में बातचीत भी हो चुकी है। और संक्षेप में अब तक की यात्रा की बात करें तो लैंडर मॉड्यूल अब तक 21 बार पृथ्वी के और लगभग 120 बार चंद्रमा का चक्कर लगा चुका है और इस पूरी यात्रा में लगभग 55 लाख किलोमीटर की यात्रा भी पूरी कर चुका है। अब तक के इस पूरे अभियान में यह भी सुनिश्चित किया गया कि सारे ऑर्बिट मैन्यूवर्स इस प्रकार किए जाएं कि लैंडिंग साइट पावर डिसेंट की शुरुआत से ही लैंडर के ऑर्बिटल प्लेन में बना रहे।
Make it further that is true indeed. We have arrived at the crucial juncture wherein the orbit plane contains the desired landing site at the start of powered descent. We are also happy to announce that live images from the Chandrayaan-3 lander imager camera is being received continuously. The demonstration of soft landing on the moon's surface is no ordinary feat due to the innumerable challenges and complexities involved. The lander velocity has to be killed from nearly 6,048 kilometers per hour without any aid from the thin and tenuous moon's atmosphere. The lunar dust at the time of landing and the craters and boulders scattered over the moon's surface make it further complicated to achieve this. The new and improved Chandrayaan-3 design has been built after envisaging all the scenarios which the lander module can encounter. With several software improvements, provision for full-level redundancies, a plethora of special tests, namely the integrated hot test, integrated cold test, and lander leg drop tests were carried out for the lander module. The success of these tests has provided great confidence in the performance of all the onboard sensors, propulsion system, and associated guidance, control, and navigation algorithms. The key findings during the tests have enabled to improve the overall system performance. The largely unexplored south pole of the moon has been chosen as the intended landing site since there is a possibility of finding ice and other minerals which would be vital resources for future explorers. Apart from continuing investigations pioneered by Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2, the Chandrayaan-3 mission will also provide invaluable data to the science community around the world. Let us give our viewers a glimpse on the configuration of Chandrayaan-3 mission.
चंद्रयान 3 का मिशन प्लान लगभग चंद्रयान 2 के तरह ही बनाया गया है। यहाँ यह भी सुनिश्चित किया गया है कि चंद्रयान 3 को रॉकेट से अलग होने से लेकर के चंद्रमा के निकटतम कक्षा में स्थापित होने तक सारी गतिविधियां चंद्रयान 2 के तरह ही हों। और अब हम यह कह सकते हैं कि यह प्लान पूरी तरह से 100% सफल रहा। हालांकि लैंडर मॉड्यूल के सेंसर्स और propulsion सिस्टम को इस तरह से मजबूत किया गया है कि लैंडर पावर डिसेंट के समय किसी भी आपदा से बाहर आकर के मिशन के मुख्य उद्देश्य को पूरा कर सके। इस क्रम में लैंडर के मुख्य सेंसर्स कारा, लासा, LHBC, LDV और LHDAC का कार्यात्मक परीक्षण भी किया जा चुका है। LDV जो कि पूर्णतः स्वदेशी तकनीकी से बनाया गया एक नया सेंसर है, इसका मुख्य कार्य लैंडर के वेलोसिटी को तीनों अक्षों में कंप्यूट करना है। पावर डिसेंट के दौरान लैंडर के सटीक पोजीशन और वेलोसिटी का ज्ञान होना बहुत ही आवश्यक है। लिराप यानी लेजर इनर्शियल रिफरेंसिंग एंड एक्सीलरोमीटर पैकेज इस कार्य को पावर डिसेंट के दौरान बखूबी निभाएगा। ट्रजेक्ट्री जनरेशन जो कि चंद्रयान 3 मिशन के लिए बहुत ही अहम है, क्योंकि हर ऑर्बिट मैन्यूवर के बाद यह सुनिश्चित किया जाता है कि लैंडर की मिशन ऑब्जेक्टिव को ना बदले। इस क्रम में मैं यह भी आपको बता दूं कि ऑर्बिट डिटर्मिनेशन जो कि उपग्रह के पोजीशन और वेलोसिटी को बहुत ही एक्यूरेटली बताता है, एक बहुत ही कठिन और जटिल कंप्यूटेशन और एस्टिमेशन होता है। यहाँ यह भी जानना महत्वपूर्ण है कि चंद्रयान 2 का OHRC पेलोड अब तक काफी ऊंचे स्तर का डैम प्रदान किया है, जिसके फलस्वरूप लैंडिंग साइट की सीमा को बढ़ाकर 4x2.4 किलोमीटर कर दिया गया है, जो कि पावर डिसेंट के दौरान सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग कराने में काफी सहायक सिद्ध होगा।
Apart from the sensors, Chandrayaan-3 is equipped with a suite of sophisticated payload instruments. While Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 orbiter have provided abundant remote sensing data of Moon, equally important are the on-site localized measurements that provide ground truths. Lander and rover have payloads which are completely new and will perform in situ analysis of lunar surface. The two spectroscopes on rover, APXS and LIBS, will actively measure the surface elemental abundances at the landing location and surrounding area. The lander carries a seismometer ILSA that can sense impact events and lunar quakes. The thermal probe CHAST will measure the temperature profile and thermal conductivity of Moon's regolith. The Rambha payload will carry out lunar ionosphere studies, while the laser retroreflector array shall be a passive location indicator for future spacecraft equipped with laser altimeter. The propulsion module has not been left behind, and an experimental shape payload has been added to it as a value addition. It will help in understanding the nature and characteristics of water-rich planets and will also aid in the future study of potentially habitable exoplanets. We are minutes away from the start of powered descent. The entire powered descent shall be carried out by the onboard autonomous landing sequencer or ALS, which is a series of instructions preloaded to the lander module. These instructions include the commands to be executed, data to be collected and analyzed, and decisions to be made and executed autonomously throughout the powered descent.
जी हाँ, अब हम पावर डिसेंट के बहुत ही करीब आ चुके हैं। हम आपको बताते चलें कि पावर डिसेंट को कुल 4 चरणों में बांटा गया है। सबसे पहले आता है रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज, जिसमें लैंडर की ऊंचाई को चंद्रमा की सतह से 30 किलोमीटर से घटाकर 7.4 किलोमीटर कर दिया जाएगा। इस पूरी प्रक्रिया को पूरा करने में लगभग 11.5 मिनट लगेगा और इसका समानांतर वेग 1680 मीटर प्रति सेकंड से घटाकर 358 मीटर प्रति सेकंड हो जाएगा।
We have continuous flow of lander telemetry data from ISRO's Deep Space Network IDSN-32 located in Belalu, Bengaluru. The data is being acquired real time by station and is flown to the Mission Operation Complex through our communication links. In addition to it, we also have support from ESA and JPL DSN stations. There will be no ground intervention once the ALS takes charge. The preparation for today's event had started 48 hours before, wherein various pre-selections and uplinking of parameters for the autonomous landing sequence were carried out. The whole descent is divided into 4 phases: the rough braking phase, the attitude hold phase, fine braking phase, and the local navigation phase or the terminal descent phase.
जी हाँ, एटीट्यूड होल्ड फेज, जो कि पावर डिसेंट का दूसरा चरण है, एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण फेज है। इस 10 सेकंड के स्मॉल ड्यूरेशन के दौरान लैंडर के दो महत्वपूर्ण सेंसर कारा और लासा लैंडर की ऊंचाई की गणना करेंगे। इस फेज के पूरा होते ही लैंडर चंद्रमा के सतह से कुल 6.8 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई पर होगा।
During the rough braking phase, the lander velocity shall be brought down from 1680 meters per second to 358 meters per second. The altitude will be brought down from 30 kilometers to 7.4 kilometers at the end of rough braking. Currently, we can see the scientists are analyzing the lander data.
जी हाँ, हम ये देख सकते हैं कि मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स रूप में बैठे सभी वैज्ञानिक ये जो भी डेटा देख रहे हैं वो डीप स्पेस नेटवर्क आईडीएसएन 32 के द्वारा प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा है। और अगर हम अब बात करें पावर डिसेंट के तीसरे चरण का, जो कि फाइन ब्रेकिंग फेज होगा, जिसमें लैंडर लैंडिंग साइट से जस्ट 800 मीटर की ऊंचाई पर वर्टिकली होगा। इस चरण को पूरा होने में लगभग 3 मिनट लगेंगे और इस चरण के पूरा होते ही लैंडर की वेलोसिटी लगभग शून्य हो जाएगी।
The scientists here at ISTRAC are glued to their systems, analyzing all sorts of complex data. We are very close to the powered descent, to the start of the powered descent phase.
जी हाँ, अगर 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 हम अब बात करें पावर डिसेंट के चौथे और अंतिम चरण का, जो कि लोकल नेविगेशन फेज या टर्मिनल डिसेंट फेज भी कहा जाता है, इस दौरान लैंडर के दो इंजन बंद कर दिए जाएंगे और लैंडर के सेंसरों द्वारा इसके हाइट और वेलोसिटी की गणना इनर्शियल नेविगेशन को भेज दिया जाएगा। इस दौरान लैंडर 150 मीटर की ऊंचाई को प्राप्त करने के बाद कुल 131 सेकंड लगाएगा। इस पड़ाव पे आने के बाद पुनः लैंडर 22 सेकंड के लिए हवरिंग करेगा। आप इस समय अपने स्क्रीन पे मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स में बैठे सभी मान्यगणों को देख सकते हैं, जो कि बहुत ही उत्सुकता के साथ टेलीमेट्री डेटा को देख रहे हैं। अभी हम लोग पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने से जस्ट कुछ ही पल दूर हैं। पावर डिसेंट शुरू होने में लगभग लगभग 30 सेकंड ही बचा है और हमको ये सारे डेटा मिशन ऑपरेशन कॉम्प्लेक्स रूम में आईडीएसएन 32 के द्वारा, जो कि लगातार लैंडर के कनेक्शन में बना हुआ है, प्रदान कर रहा है।
Dear viewers, the pivotal power descent has begun and the lander module is propelling towards the moon's surface along the intended trajectory.
जी हाँ, अब देख सकते हैं रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज की शुरुआत हो चुकी है।
During this rough braking phase, the lander velocity shall be brought down from 1680 meters per second to 358 meters per second. The altitude will be brought down from 30 kilometers to 7.4 kilometers at the end of rough braking. All this in the duration of 690 seconds or 11.5 minutes. Currently, the Laser Inertial Reference and Accelerometer package (LIRAP) is aiding in the navigation.
जी हाँ, अभी आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर अब तक कुल 191 किलोमीटर हॉरिजेंटल दिशा में चल चुका है और अभी तक इसकी वेलोसिटी लगभग 31 किलोमीटर बनी हुई है।
The lander module has traveled a distance of approximately 228 kilometers. The complete downrange that will be traveled during this phase shall be nearly 713.5 kilometers.
जी हाँ, कुल 745 किलोमीटर के इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज में आप देख सकते हैं कि हम लोग लगभग लगभग अपनी यात्रा 20% कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं। पावर डिसेंट की यह शुरुआत हम कह सकते हैं कि बहुत ही सटीक और सधी हुई है, जिसमें लैंडर अपने वेगमान को अनुमानित तरीके से घटा रहा है।
The altitude of the lander module will reduce from 7.4 kilometers to 6.8 kilometers. During the next phase, which is going to be the attitude hold phase. We can currently see that the altitude of the lander module is nearly 31 kilometers.
आरुषि, अभी हम इस ग्राउंड ट्रेस को देखते हुए कह सकते हैं कि रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज की शुरुआत बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से हुई है। आप ये देख सकती हैं कि जो भी प्रोजेक्टेड ग्राउंड ट्रेस है, उसी पे अपना लैंडर मॉड्यूल आगे चलते हुए बढ़ रहा है। अभी तक ये देखा जा सकता है कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल लगभग लगभग 370 किलोमीटर 36 दिशा में चल चुका है।
The mission operations team is analyzing the data. We can all see the seriousness and the concentration with which each and every parameter of the lander module is being analyzed. The performance so far seems to be nominal.
जी आरुषि, चूंकि एलएस एक्टिवेट किया जा चुका है, इसलिए ग्राउंड से कोई कमांडिंग नहीं की जा रही है। इस दौरान आपके स्क्रीन पे सारे डेटा इसरो के डीप स्पेस नेटवर्क से रियल टाइम में आ रहे हैं। इस मिशन में सेकेंड और थर्ड ऑर्डर गाइडेंस पॉलिनोमियल का प्रयोग हुआ है, जो कि इनर्शियल थ्रस्ट और एंगल के हमेशा सुनिश्चित करेगा।
During the entire descent, there is no ground intervention as the ALS has taken charge. The preparation for today's event had started nearly 48 hours before, wherein various pre-selections and uplinking of parameters were done. We can see that the vertical velocity of the lander module has been brought down. It is continuously coming down. and the ALS had already been initiated 1 hour before the scheduled time of the power descent start. Following this, the throttleable engine electronics module, the TECM, was switched on and lander was oriented to the favorable attitude.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर मॉड्यूल जिसकी शुरुआत में वेलोसिटी 1680 मीटर पर सेकंड थी, लगभग 1150 मीटर पर सेकंड हो चुकी है, जो कि एक बहुत ही मैजेस्टिक शुरुआत कही जा सकती है इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज के लिए। यहाँ पे मैं आपको ये भी बताते चलूं कि आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि द लैंडर मॉड्यूल का अल्टीट्यूड धीरे-धीरे अब कम होता हुआ दिख रहा है और जो कि एक्सपेक्टेड भी है। अभी हम बात करें करंट अल्टीट्यूड की तो जो कि 28.6 किलोमीटर के आसपास है।
आप स्क्रीन पर ये भी देख सकते हैं Chandrayaan-3 lander imager display. The lander imager is continuously taking photographs of the moon's surface, and that is also being streamed here. Currently, the horizontal velocity has been brought down, and the distance traveled is 574 kilometers. The current altitude is 27 kilometers, as can be seen on the screen.
जी हाँ, करीब-करीब अपने आधे सफर को पूरा करते हुए इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज में लैंडर बहुत ही आगे की तरफ बढ़ते हुए अपनी ऊंचाई को घटा रहा है। अगर अब बात करें तो लैंडर की ऊंचाई चंद्रमा के सतह से लगभग 27 किलोमीटर से नीचे हो चुकी है, करीब-करीब 26.7 किलोमीटर के आसपास है।
The next phase after the rough braking phase is the attitude hold phase, which will be for a duration of nearly 10 seconds. The lander will be oriented such that both the altimeters will be looking exactly towards the moon's surface. At the end of this attitude hold phase, height measurement update to navigation system will be given from the laser and car band altimeters. Currently, we are in the middle of the rough braking phase.
जी हाँ, अगर हम ध्यान से देखें तो लगभग 8 मिनट की यात्रा के बाद लैंडर अपनी हॉरिजेंटल वेलोसिटी को लगातार कम करते हुए अपनी ऊंचाई अभी की ऊंचाई के समय 24 किलोमीटर की ऊंचाई प्राप्त कर चुका है। अब तक के आंकड़े को देखते हुए हम कह सकते हैं कि लैंडिंग पूरी तरह से नॉमिनल है। यहाँ पर हम देख सकते हैं कि हॉरिजेंटल वेलोसिटी लगातार कम होती हुई दिख रही है। The altitude of lander from ground is currently 12 kilometer is currently 22 kilometer, which is again going to be coming down, and that is expected.
For the viewers who have joined now, we are in the power descent phase, and we are in the rough braking phase, which is the first phase of the power descent. We have currently traveled a downrange of 697 kilometers, and the downrange that has to be traveled during this phase is 713.5 kilometers.
जी हाँ, अभी आप देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की हॉरिजेंटल वेलोसिटी लगभग 720 मीटर प्रति सेकंड हो गई है। लगभग हम ये कह सकते हैं कि 900 मीटर प्रति सेकंड वेलोसिटी को कम किया जा चुका है। At the same time, we can see the altitude of the lander is just 17.8 kilometer from the moon surface, which is going to be around 7.4 at the end of the rough braking phase.
इस फेज के बाद हम जाएंगे towards the attitude hold phase, where we will be expecting sensor update from the laser and car band altimeters. We can see the visualization of the lander module moving towards the moon's surface. The current altitude is nearly 15.2 kilometers and the distance traveled is 754 kilometers. We can also see the image that the lander imager camera has been providing.
जी हाँ, इस रफ ब्रेकिंग फेज के दौरान 800 न्यूटन के चारों थ्रोटल इंजन अपने कार्य को पूरी तरह से अंजाम दे रहे हैं और लैंडर के हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी को लगातार कम कर रहे हैं। अब तक लैंडर लगभग अपने 75 से 80% की यात्रा को पूरा कर चुका है।
After the rough braking and the attitude hold phase, we shall be having the fine braking phase, which will continue for nearly 3 minutes. The whole phase is being driven by the autonomous landing sequencer and there is no intervention from ground.
जी हाँ आरुषि, अभी आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकती हैं कि जो करंट आल्टीट्यूड है चंद्रमा के सतह से लगभग 10 किलोमीटर के आसपास है। जी हाँ, हम अपने जी हाँ, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हम सभी का उत्साहवर्धन करने के लिए दक्षिणी अफ्रीका के जोहानसबर्ग से जुड़ गए हैं।
Yes, we are privileged to have with us Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has joined us from South Africa's Johannesburg to encourage us.
जी हाँ, आप ये देख सकते हैं एल्टीट्यूड होल्ड फेज भी बहुत ही आसानी से लैंडर फेज ने पार कर लिया है और अब फाइन ब्रेकिंग की शुरुआत हो चुकी है। अभी हम ये देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग 5.6 किलोमीटर है, जो कि इस फेज के उपरांत लगभग 800 मीटर हो जाएगी।
We can hear from the mission operations team that the sensors are performing nominally and we are currently in the midst of the fine braking phase, which is going to continue for 3 minutes and the altitude is going to be reduced to nearly 800 meters at the end of this phase.
जी हाँ, जैसा कि आरुषि जी ने बताया कि लगभग 3 मिनट के उपरांत लैंडर की हाइट लगभग 800 मीटर वर्टिकली होगी और यहाँ पे लैंडर की हॉरिजेंटल वेलोसिटी, वर्टिकल वेलोसिटी, इवन डाउन रेंज भी लगभग शून्य होगा।
We can see the visual of the lander module and we can see that the downrange traveled is nearly 831 kilometers.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई अब चंद्रमा की सतह से लगभग 3 किलोमीटर से कम हो चुकी है।
We are very close to the moon's surface, nearly 2.6 kilometers as we can see.
जी हाँ, अभी आप देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग 1 किलोमीटर के आसपास है।
We are nearing the final phase of the power descent. which is going to be the vertical descent phase or the local navigation phase.
जी हाँ, अब हम फाइन ब्रेकिंग वेव्स के एकदम करीब आ चुके हैं। हाँ, आप तालियों के गड़गड़ाहट से सुन सकते हैं कि हम लोगों ने तीसरे चरण को भी बहुत ही सफलतापूर्वक हासिल कर लिया है और अभी हम वर्टिकल डिसेंट फेज में आ चुके हैं, जिसकी शुरुआत भी बहुत ही अच्छे ढंग से हो चुकी है।
Lot of applause indicates that till now the performance has been nominal. We are in the vertical descent phase 1. The altitude is being brought down from 800 meters and we are nearing and approaching the lunar surface.
जी, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर का हाइट लगातार कम होता जा रहा है। इस समय हम लैंडिंग साइट के जस्ट ऊपर हैं और इस समय इसकी ऊंचाई लगभग 600 मीटर के आसपास है। इस फेज के दौरान लगभग 150 मीटर के ऊंचाई पे पहुंचने के बाद लैंडर अगेन लगभग 20 से 22 सेकंड के लिए हॉवरिंग करेगा।
We are above the landing site. The horizontal as well as the vertical velocity is now being constantly reduced. And the lander module has begun its descent towards the landing site.
जी हाँ, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं, ये जो पथ निर्धारित किया गया है, लैंडर पूरी तरह से उसी को ही फॉलो कर रहा है। इस समय हम लगभग 200 मीटर की हाइट से भी कम आ चुके हैं। अब हम ये देख सकते हैं कि हम लगभग 150 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं चंद्रमा के सतह से।
We are approaching the vertical descent phase 2, which will have the lander module hovering at nearly 150 meters above
जी
the
हाँ,
lunar surface.
जी हाँ, आप इस तालियों के गड़गड़ाहट को सुन सकते हैं, जो कि सेकंड हैवरिक फेज के कंप्लीट होने के बाद इन सारे वैज्ञानिकों के द्वारा की जा रही है। जी हाँ, आप अगर फिर से ध्यान से देखें तो एल्टीट्यूड पुनः कम होता जा रहा है। अभी हम लोग लगभग 135 मीटर की ऊंचाई पे हैं।
The sensors that are updating at this point are providing confirmation of the safety of the landing site.
As expected, the retargeting is going on and this is a very good signature for the lander. अभी आप ये देख सकते हैं कि लैंडर की ऊंचाई लगभग 65 मीटर के आसपास बची हुई है।
Currently, only 2 engines are now being fired, and we are nearly at zero velocity, vertical and horizontal. We were hovering, and now we are approaching the moon's surface.
धीरे धीरे लैंडर की वेगमान को कम किया जा रहा है और हम अब लगभग 50 मीटर से भी कम आ चुके हैं।
We can see the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who is here to encourage us, and he is critically looking at the visuals.
जी हाँ, आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल
People are applauding. Let
लैंडर
us all wait
मॉड्यूल
to hear from the Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Somnath.
लैंडर मॉड्यूल पूरी तरह से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा के सतह पे लैंड हो चुका है। ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही गर्व की बात है। हिंदी में एक कहावत है कि चंदा मामा दूर के, लेकिन अब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि चंदा मामा अपने घर के।
बहुत ही उम्दा. The hard work of the entire ISRO community has come to fruition.
आदरणीय आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, नमस्कार. Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon. Sir, I request our Honorable Prime Minister to address us and bless us. Thank you, sir.
मेरे प्यारे परिवारजनों, जब हम अपनी आंखों के सामने ऐसा इतिहास बनते हुए देखते हैं तो जीवन धन्य हो जाता है. ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं राष्ट्र जीवन की चिरंजीव चेतना बन जाती है. ये पल अविस्मरणीय है. ये क्षण अभूतपूर्व है. ये क्षण विकसित भारत के शंखनाद का है. ये क्षण नए भारत के जयघोष का है. ये क्षण मुश्किलों के महासागर को पार करने का है. ये क्षण जीत के चंद्र पथ पर चलने का है. ये क्षण 140 करोड़ धड़कनों के सामर्थ्य का है. ये क्षण भारत में नई ऊर्जा, नया विश्वास, नई चेतना का है. ये क्षण भारत के उदयमान भाग्य के आह्वान का है. अमृत काल की प्रथम प्रभा में सफलता की ये अमृत वर्षा हुई है. हमने धरती पर संकल्प लिया और चांद पर उसे साकार किया. और हमारे वैज्ञानिक साथियों ने भी कहा, इंडिया इज नाउ ऑन द मून. आज हम अंतरिक्ष में नए भारत की नई उड़ान के साक्षी बने हैं. साथियों, मैं इस समय ब्रिक्स समिट में हिस्सा लेने के लिए दक्षिण अफ्रीका में हूं. लेकिन हर देशवासी की तरह मेरा मन चंद्रयान महाअभियान पर भी लगा हुआ था. नया इतिहास बनते ही हर भारतीय जश्न में डूब गया है. हर घर में उत्सव शुरू हो गया है. हृदय से मैं भी अपने देशवासियों के साथ, अपने परिवारजनों के साथ इस उमंग और उल्लास से जुड़ा हुआ हूं. मैं टीम चंद्रयान को, इसरो को और देश के सभी वैज्ञानिकों को जी जान से बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं, जिन्होंने इस पल के लिए वर्षों तक इतना परिश्रम किया है. उत्साह, उमंग, आनंद और भावुकता से भरे इस अद्भुत पल के लिए मैं 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को भी कोटि कोटि बधाइयां देता हूं। मेरे परिवारजनों, हमारे वैज्ञानिकों के परिश्रम और प्रतिभा से भारत चंद्रमा के उस दक्षिणी ध्रुव पर पहुंचा है जहां आज तक दुनिया का कोई भी देश नहीं पहुंच सका। अब आज के बाद से चांद से जुड़े मिथक बदल जाएंगे, कथानक भी बदल जाएंगे और नई पीढ़ी के लिए कहावतें भी बदल जाएगी। भारत में तो हम सभी लोग धरती को मां कहते हैं और चांद को मामा बुलाते हैं। कभी कहा जाता था चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं, चंदा मामा बहुत दूर के हैं। अब एक दिन वो भी आएगा जब बच्चे कहा करेंगे चंदा मामा बस एक टूर के हैं। फ्रेंड्स, on this joyous occasion, I would like to address all the people of the world, the people of every country and region. India's successful moon mission is not just India's alone. This is a year in which the world is witnessing India's G20 presidency. Our approach of one earth, one family, one future is resonating across the globe. This human-centric approach that we present and that we represent has been welcomed universally. Our moon mission is also based on the same human-centric approach. Therefore, this success belongs to all of humanity, and it will help moon missions by other countries in the future. I am confident that all countries in the world, including those from the global south, are capable of achieving such feats. We can all aspire for the moon and beyond. मेरे परिवारजनों, चंद्रयान महाअभियान के ये उपलब्धि भारत की उड़ान को चंद्रमा की कक्षाओं से आगे जाएगी। हम हमारे सौर मंडल की सीमाओं का सामर्थ्य परखेंगे और मानव के लिए ब्रह्मांड की अनेक संभावनाओं को साकार करने के लिए भी जरूर काम करेंगे। हमने भविष्य के लिए कई बड़े और महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य तय किए हैं। जल्द ही सूर्य के विस्तृत अध्ययन के लिए इसरो आदित्य L1 मिशन लॉन्च करने जा रहा है। इसके बाद शुक्र भी इसरो के लक्ष्यों में से एक है। गगनयान के जरिए देश अपने पहले ह्यूमन स्पेस फ्लाइट मिशन के लिए भी पूरी तैयारी के साथ जुटा है। भारत बार बार ये साबित कर रहा है कि स्काई इज नॉट द लिमिट। साथियों, साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी देश के उज्जवल भविष्य का आधार है। इसलिए आज के इस दिन को देश हमेशा हमेशा के लिए याद रखेगा। यह दिन हम सभी को एक उज्जवल भविष्य की ओर बढ़ने के लिए प्रेरित करेगा। ये दिन हमें अपने संकल्पों की सिद्धि का रास्ता दिखाएगा। ये दिन इस बात का प्रतीक है कि हार से सबक लेकर जीत कैसे हासिल की जाती है। एक बार फिर देश के सभी वैज्ञानिकों को बहुत बहुत बधाई और भविष्य के मिशन के लिए ढेरों शुभकामनाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Aditya Prasad ji, for being part of our journey to this success. And let me take this opportunity to thank the people behind this mission, the project director of Chandrayaan-3. He is here. Vikram, congratulations to you. The associate project director, Kalpana, and the mission operations director, Srikanth. And the satellite was built at Gauhar Raza Satellite Center, Shankar and the director.
It's a great moment of happiness on behalf of team. It gives me immense satisfaction on achieving this goal as a project director of this mission. The entire mission operations, right from launch till landing, happened flawlessly as per the timeline, and we became the 4th country to land to demonstrate the soft landing onto the moon surface, and we became the first country to go to near to the south pole of the moon. I take this opportunity to thank navigation, guidance and control team, propulsion team, sensors team, and all the mainframe subsystems team who have brought success to this mission. I also take the opportunity to thank the Critical Operations Review Committee for thoroughly reviewing the mission operations right from launch till this date. The target was on spot because of the review process. I also thank the ISRO higher management, right from Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, and all the center directors and higher ISRO officials. And finally, my thanks to the Chandrayaan-3 project executives spread across the ISRO centers. Thank you.
Mission Director Srikanth.
It gives me an immense pleasure to be part of Chandrayaan-3 and acting as mission director. I would like to thank each and every team member who has supported in carrying out all the mission operations flawlessly. And I would like to thank my senior management, Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, my senior colleagues and my team members for carrying out and supporting all the things carrying out in a proper way. Thank you very much.
Associate Project Director Kalpana.
Good evening to all. This will remain the most memorable and the happiest moment for all of us, for our team Chandrayaan-3. We have achieved our goal flawlessly From the day we started rebuilding our spacecraft after Chandrayaan-2 experience, it has been breathe in, breathe out Chandrayaan-3 for our team. And starting from the reconfiguration to all the special tests and the simulations we have conducted meticulously. And this has been possible only because of our immense effort from our Chandrayaan-3 team. And of course, with the guidance from our chairman ISRO, our directors, and all our experts. With all this, it has been possible. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for all the minutest help which has been provided from all the areas of departments. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Chandrayaan-3 is a result of the work done by thousands of scientists, engineers, our staff, and industries and support team across ISRO and other places, other institutions. And Shankaran has been the lead of the center, which integrated all of these efforts in the last so many years. So I request him to speak on behalf of all of you.
Thank you very much for the affection that has been displayed today now. Today, we have achieved what we set out to achieve in 2019. It was delayed by about 4 years, but we have done it. When Chandrayaan-3 was launched, after the separation of the spacecraft from launch vehicle, I said, I will speak the rest of the things after the soft landing. So here I will take a couple of minutes to tell the tremendous amount of effort that has been put in by the entire project team. When I say project team, it is not just only the project director and associate project director. Of course, they are the face of the project. They have been living, sleeping, eating, breathing Chandrayaan for the last 4 years. They have been supported by such a large number of people, particularly in the navigation, guidance and control area, propulsion system. This area, the amount of effort that has been put by people, the number of simulations that have been done, the number of reviews they have gone through, the amount of criticism they faced and overcome that. It is, as a person who has been watching this for the last 4 years along with them, my heart goes out for them. The amount of effort is tremendous. That is what ISRO is all about. That is what our organization has taught us to do. Now today, this success has put us even more higher responsibility, as the Honorable Prime Minister was telling, because we have set the bar now so high. Nothing less than nothing less spectacular than this is going to be inspiring for any of us in the future. So as the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned, we will be now looking at putting the man in space, putting a spacecraft around Venus and landing a craft in Mars. Work on all these activities are going on for few years. And this success today will inspire us and will spur us to take those efforts even more strongly, so that we will make our country proud again and again and again. Thank you very much for every one of you who have directly or indirectly participated in this mission, encouraged us, intentionally or unintentionally helped us in all for every one of you. A big thank you, because even casual remark, an unintended point can help a person who is striving to reach a goal. The person who is making that remark may not have meant it that way, but sometimes it can ignite that's why I said that even unintended help is very, very, very welcome, and we are very, very thankful for that. Thank you, Team ISRO, for supporting all of us. The amount of affection we received when this mission came into this final stage, the number of people who gave us confidence that nothing can go wrong, and this is going to be successful. In fact, I was not that much confident because we have seen a couple of times issues, because I know very well, as a person who has been doing in this domain for 36 years, I know there are thousands of things. Any of that can anytime go wrong and derail. But so many of the people, because that I only see as the reflection of the effort we have put, that people are so happy to see this effort, and they want us to succeed. It is not that they know that we are going to succeed. The people want us to succeed. So thank you very much for everyone for your love and affection. We will continue to do our best and make our flag fly, ISRO's as well as India's flag fly high. Thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister called me and conveyed his greetings to each one of you and your family, for the wonderful work you did in ISRO. Thanks are to him for the support that he is giving to us for missions like Chandrayaan-3 and the missions that are in the offing. I think that's a great word of comfort that we are receiving for pursuing the inspirational work that we are doing for the nation. I want to tell you, and I want to thank you also for each and everyone who prayed with us in the last many days, who wanted this success to happen in ISRO. I thank all those people in all around the country and maybe beyond the country for their blessings and wishes and affection that he has given to each one of us for doing this work for the last so many years. I want to specifically thank some senior people who have been standing with us, especially the name of Kiran Kumar sir and Mr. Kamalakar, Sri Koteshwar Rao. They have been helping so much. They were part of the team to help them to get the confidence and get the reviews done to ensure that nothing goes with any mistakes. And of course, this is not the work of us alone. This is a work of a generation of ISRO leadership and ISRO scientists. And this is a journey we started in Chandrayaan-1, continued in Chandrayaan-2, and Chandrayaan-2 craft is still working and doing a lot of communication work with us. And all the team that contributed to building Chandrayaan-1 and Chandrayaan-2 should be remembered and thanked while we celebrate Chandrayaan-3. And this is an incremental progress and definitely a great, huge one it is. And thank you so much for all the support and work that you have done. Thank you.
You're watching Hindustan Times, and India has created history with the Chandrayaan-2. India's has now become the first country to land on the south pole of the lunar surface. PM Modi, you just saw, has congratulated Indians and space scientists for the achievements. The Indian Tiranga now flies high atop the moon, and that too on the south side of the moon, or the south pole of the moon, where no other country has ventured before. And with this, let me introduce the guests who have with us. Surendra Pal, former director ISRO, Mirza Faizan, Indian American aerospace scientist. We have Professor Satyanarayan Chakravarti, co-founder of Agnikul Cosmos, and we have Ajay Kumar, CEO of Bellon Space. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Many, many congratulations. And let me start off with you, Surendra Pal, sir. Dr. Pal, we met just yesterday, and it was so. Your first thoughts on this historic feat?
Well, first of all, I wish to congratulate the ISRO, the whole country for this beautiful feat. Now, let me tell you, I worked in ISRO for a long time. We used to always say the textbook like the landing was like textbook. Curves were followed properly, and I must say that the whole system worked very well. And hopeful that after a few hours the Pragyan rover also will come out. So I wish to congratulate everybody in the country, and I have already distributed laddus.
You've already distributed laddus, sir. We are still to get the laddus, but thank you so much. We are distributing laddus. In my team is distributing laddus in the studio here. So we are all very, very happy with where we are at this point in time. So can I ask you a very simple question? This last 15 minutes, the terrorizing 15 minutes, how were they? Tell us about this entire landing on the moon's south pole. How did it go? What is it?
See,
Have you been able to glean any information from your colleagues at ISRO?
let me tell you, as I told in the earlier also, that everybody was very confident. The face was, oozing confidence in that one. I was slightly not I was anxious in the rough braking. I was never anxious about the fine braking and the landing because I knew that our four rockets, the thrusters, laser gyros, the total system will work wonderfully well. So I can only say that yes, I mean little bit of anxiety will be there, but there were no anxious moments. Everybody knew that yes, it will land perfectly and where it is designated, and it has landed on the designated place. If you see it, that velocities were following the textbook, what was expected, they were following it very well. There was no chance of going to 3 meters per second. It is a really soft landing. The vertical velocity was much less than 1.86. So you can say it was a really very, very soft landing, and it's a great feat which ISRO has achieved.
Absolutely, it's a great feat, and many congratulations to all our scientists who worked so hard to make this a reality. Are you thinking back to 4 years ago today when we could not make it, and there were those images that we got from the ISRO mocks of a very heartbroken team of scientists?
Well, we have seen the failures, and it's a long career. We have seen the failures. We have seen the failure of SLV. We have seen the failure of first PSLV, one GSLV, and one satellite for which I was the program director. That satellite heat shield did not open. So these are the things which are possible in the space technology arena. And for
Hmm.
Chandrayaan-2 failure, we knew that the orbiter is working wonderfully well. All the corrections will be applied. Everything will be analyzed thoroughly, which was done, and redundancies were built. Everything was tested. That's why Chandrayaan-3 Vikram has landed so softly that one can't imagine about it. There is no question of hard landing. It was a velocities were much better than 1.5 meters per second. So you can say it is like this, sitting on a chair when you are up and then you want to sit on the chair. and that too cushion chair. So it was that sort of landing.
Yeah, and I would like our studio our producers to put on air some of the messages that are coming in from Indians and the congratulations that are pouring in from across the world for Indian scientists. And those images you saw on your screen are of immediate celebrations post the post the landing of Vikram. Dear Vikram has indeed landed. The Indian tricolor flies high on the moon now. India is now only the fourth country in the world to have made a soft landing on the moon and the first to land on the south pole of the moon. Let me come to you, Mirza Faizan. Mirza Faizan, you are an Indian American aerospace scientist. Are you based out of Washington? Are you based out of where?
I'm based out of Texas in Dallas.
You're based out of Texas. What does it feel like? Because for you as an Indian American, what's this moment like for you?
Oh, Aditi, whenever we leave the boundaries of Earth and go to space, we are not representing a country. We are representing the entire Earth. I remember the first one of the first words of the first person to land on the moon. What they said, here we come on peace, representing the humankind, right? So globally, this is a global achievement. I mean, I evaluate technologies developed at NASA. So everyone is excited up here because it's a global achievement, right? No one has ever had made a soft landing on the South Pole, and India has done that. So there's a lot of learning for everyone in the world, for a country like United States, for the country like China, Russia. Everyone has to learn something from this. Recently, Luna 5 unfortunately failed from Russia. They have to learn from us. This is a continuous process of global learning. So everyone is excited, and India is my birthplace, and this is my bread and butter, aerospace. So this is a feat. I mean, very few people are lucky to see in their lifetime. We all are excited. We all are very happy. My 6-year-old daughter called me and said, "Daddy, we landed," and we all are excited.
Oh, that's wonderful, Daddy. We've landed, and that's so wonderful to hear. The power of that word. We have landed, and I think that is what makes us all so proud and probably even goosebumps. Dr. Pal, I know you have to go a little early, so I'm going to come back to you, and get some understanding from you on uh, on what were the what next for as far as Indian scientists, as far as ISRO is concerned. What next can we look forward to now?
Okay, immediately after 3 hours or 4 hours, Pragyan will come. That's one thing. Okay, then already ISRO is ready with the Aditya 1. So it will go, it will study the sun, and that's much better because we can launch, we can go to the L1, and it's a that sort of process we have already mastered. So it's not that risky as of landing, etc. It will go to a proper place, put it there. All the instruments which have been done, I saw it in the clean room. I went there once to ISRO Satellite Center, and all hardening has been done against the sun. And so Aditya 1 is one. The Prime Minister already told that we will go to Venus, Chandrayaan. So
Yeah.
that will be another. And there is another thing is going, which is a polarimetry. It's a scientific thing. X-ray polarimetry satellite is there, which is ready, and I am sure that satellite will increase our knowledge about the how the total system is working. Atmosphere, the extraterrestrial world. So three things are there in line. So I'm sure the ISRO's hands are full. One last thing which I wish to add is that here some 9 to 10 private industries, reasonably good private industries have contributed. Now they can go and advertise that we have made a systems for the ISRO, and where it has landed on the moon. And yes, definitely they can give their systems. They can make the systems for NASA. They can make for ESA. They can make for South Korea. They can make for Japan. So there's an opportunity for a large business. So you can say Indian things are better. We are on the moon. So it comes, and when after 14 days, it's on the lunar, total system will go in the sleep mode. I'm quite sure after 28 days of the landing, again it will, when the sun comes, or have we ever lunar day, the total system will come up and just things will work for more 14 days. The propulsion module will work for years together and go on studying, with the shape will study the Earth's reflections or spectrum, and also it can, if they want, they can see some other things also. So I mean, an orbiter will go on going for years together. So today I can say we are 100% successful. I am very proud that I was associated with ISRO for 42 years, and I am one of the few persons who started the spacecraft activities. I mean, few persons means less than 60 persons who started the spacecraft
Hmm.
activities. I was involved in Chandrayaan. The communication systems which I designed for Chandrayaan 1 are the legacy for Chandrayaan 3, 2, and even the 32-meter antenna which is there in the bilateral loop which they are tracking with is my design, by my team's design. So I will go and congratulate to each one of them. All are retired. So wonderfully done. I must say, yeah, it's again congratulations to the whole country. Kudos, and
No,
I don't
great
want
to
to
hear
add
that, sir,
further
and thank you so
adjective.
much for
I
your.
only want to say welcome the moon. Thank you.
Thanks, Susai. Thank you so much for your contribution for this successful moon mission. But before you go, your thoughts on what this means for Indian science globally. How does this raise the heft? I know you talked about how we can go out and start helping other countries, but in terms of India's global heft, what what has it done for us? Because this is a very proud moment.
See, it has put us on par with the scientists who are working in NASA, ESA, Japan, Korea, and space scientists, space technologists, and this will provide a lot of inputs to our space physicists and I mean, the persons who are looking for the geology of a moon and how the universe is formed. So overall, to the whole world, we are contributing. So it's not only for India. We are contributing for the whole world, and the Prime Minister has talked about this. So it's when what data we will get it is much more precious than what money we have spent, or we would have bought the gold for that one. So I must say that it's more than 640 crores of which we have spent. So we will be achieving much more than that.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us. Let me go across to Ajay Kumar. I know Ajay, you've been waiting patiently for your turn, but do tell us
Yeah.
what this means. Dr. Pal has put into perspective a lot of things that this means for the Indian space uh, technology for Indian scientists. You being, I am part of the private sector, so called in the space, which has just been allowed entry into the space sector. Tell us what it means for for the growth of India's private enterprise in space.
Yes, thank you for inviting us. And then first of all, we need to thank the entire ecosystem, and then the a lot of scientists from ISRO, and then even the entire globe for supporting this particular mission. And then as a fourth country landing on moon, and then the first country landing on the south part, but it's going to be really a great thing for us. And being as a new generation startup, so it's going to be a great opportunity for us to send a lot of experimentations, and then a lot of new missions to not only the lower Earth orbit of Earth, but then also to the even taking regoliths of moon, and then exploring the moon missions and etc. This is really going to support a lot of youngsters, and then a lot of new entrepreneurs coming into this picture. And then I would also see this as going to be a global relationship on the commercial perspective, and then the economical wise in the space economy as well.
All right. How does this, Dr. Pal talked about, taking India, putting India on the map as far as helping other nations take the leap towards the moon. In that context, which are the other nations that have so far made that, taken that step towards the moon, and whether or not, how successful, why have they not been successful where India has been successful? That's the question. And I invite Professor Satyanarayan Chakrabarti to sort of wax eloquent on that.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. So, what we have done today is mainly because we actually failed in Chandrayaan 2. So, it's kind of like coming back with a vengeance in the sense, in a very scientific sense, that I would say, not actually as much as emotional. There has been so much redundancy built into this particular mission that until we actually succeeded, we couldn't confidently say that we would succeed, but we were very, very sure that we will. I think the ISRO actually had left no stone unturned in trying to get as best a success as possible, and they actually did it spectacularly, 100%. But the reason why we actually did what we did is we packed significant amount of artificial intelligence and significant amount of redundancies based on computer vision as well as conventional methods that actually ensure that you will have a successful landing even if there was a complete telecommunication blackout. There was redundancies in the velocity measurements. There was artificial intelligence in locating the location where we would land. There was artificial intelligence in looking at obstacle avoidance due to any craters. All of these things were well thought out completely. And the amount of propulsion that they had to this time, the excess propellants that they were carrying, everything was actually adding up to the success. And that's mainly because we failed once and we made sure that we wouldn't want to do it again.
All right, Ajay, let me just come to you with a follow-up question, and that is that we've done this at a fraction of the cost at what developed nations like the US and developing nations like Russia and China have done. Talk to us on that. You know, India's ability to carry off a technologically scientific mission of this nature with a fraction of that cost.
Yes. So one of the uniqueness in Indian space ecosystem is we are affordable in providing good solutions. So not only in Chandrayaan mission, if you just compare the satellite mission that you see, which has happened, and then the launch vehicle mission that you have seen. So India is able to give an affordable solution for the entire global, and the global shows a good interest in launching their own satellites and then their own constellations using the Indian launch vehicles. Not only with ISRO, but also it's also global ecosystem is showing a good interest on the private players in India as well, which is really a great opportunity for us to not only working on with global, but also bring solutions, and then from the solution from the Indian soil, what we are doing is actually going to be a great thing. And coming back to this particular mission, so we see that we would have some more commercial missions happening maybe in the upcoming futures, where you would have a lot of much more deep research might be taken place in the Chandrayaan mission, and you would also be working on working on much more detailed data acquisitions of using the ecosystem in the moon, and then maybe you would have, since you also came with this Artemis Accord, so there would be a lot of new challenges and new opportunities for both ISRO and then the startups coming into this.
Okay, Mirza Faizan, let me at this point bring you in. I want to talk to you about the world. How do you think the world's scientific community's view of India is now changed? Post has now changed post this. What are you hearing? You're on mute. You're on mute. We'll have to unmute you.
All right.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Aditi, I'll take this out from where our colleague Mr. Ajay was saying that it will give a boost to the economy, the space economy in India, and it also give confidence on the local suppliers, the Indian suppliers, aerospace and defense suppliers. Let me tell you what did the Apollo moon landing back in 1969 did to the global industry, and then I'll come back to your answer. One of the most important development of the Apollo 13 and subsequent Apollo missions of NASA was the development of widespread development and use of semiconductor. So the semiconductor actually got a boost from there, and everywhere it's being used, and then it was being demanded, right? So semiconductor industry is directly, is an offshoot of the NASA's moon landing. Now, what's going to happen here on the global perspective is definitely India was already seen as one of the leader in aerospace and defense, especially the space exploration abilities. We have been launching other countries' satellites. We have a world record in launching the maximum number of satellites in one launch. We already have that, but then this feat of almost 100% indigenously designed system, a frugal system. It's a true frugal engineering, with local suppliers. That is going to boost the global demand of Indian suppliers, number one, Indian talent, number two, and Indian expertise, which we have gained in Chandrayaan 1, 2, and 3, right? Many say that mission Chandrayaan 2 was not very successful. I beg to differ because we're 95% successful. We went up to the orbit of Moon, so close that we were close to around 2 kilometers from the surface of Moon. And the orbiter of Chandrayaan 2 has given really specific details to us, which help us in this Chandrayaan 3 mission, right? One of the payload of Chandrayaan 3 mission was a system which we call as DESMAC, digital scene matching area correlation. What it does is it take the picture of the terrain, it match with the stored picture, and then it identifies whether I'm in the right position or I have to shift my position, right? Very
Got it.
high tech missiles do that. So we have that technology. So we will have progress in the missile technology, space technology, and of course, a lot of suppliers will come up, and their confidence, the world will show confidence on them.
Right. The world will show confidence on India. But how does, please tell me, have any of your peers in the US, for instance, what is the talk amongst them about India's moon mission before the launch and now after the launch, if you've been able to speak to anyone? After the
After
landing, if you've been able to
after
speak.
the landing, I have I'm like before joining you, I was on another TV channel, so I have not got the time back to back to talk to anyone. I just got a call, as I said, from my daughter, and she was like, that was the thing we said. But let me tell you, before the launch, the uh, world already acknowledged India's technological progress in this field. They already do that. In fact, I evaluate technologies developed by NASA. So once I was there, and one of my colleague jokingly said, "You land your rover on the moon, or you do the entire moon mission in less than the cost. We make a moon movie and a space movie. I mean, and
Right.
that is incredible, right? So what they are doing in virtual world, we are actually doing in real world at less of that cost. So India already has a very respectable position, and I'm sure with today's feed, we are going to be number one. We are number one, and we are going to be staying there for a long and long time to come.
That's so wonderful to hear. Dr. Satyanarayan, sorry, Professor Satyanarayan, what, in your opinion, now what next? Dr. Pal told us about the new, feats that India is already on the point of achieving. Talk to us about what next now after the moon mission. What next? What next big space breakthrough are we going to hear from India?
Yeah, very interesting question. So very interestingly, I think the next launch or two, within the next 1 or 2 months, India is actually planning to send a probe to the sun, and that's very interesting because we have just so-called conquered the moon. Now we are actually heading to the sun. It'll make a huge splash in terms of like a sentiment. That is number one. That's just around the corner in the next couple of months. I think, as the chairman said, we are actually looking at orbiting around the Venus, just like how we did Mangalyaan. That's next. Gaganyaan is actually going to be like the huge big ticket item in the next year or two. And that's going to be a stepping stone for us to go back to moon with human beings at some point in the future. But prior to that, Chandrayaan 4 will actually be in collaboration with JAXA, the Japanese Space Exploration Agency. And that sets the tone for these kinds of international explorations that will come our way very naturally now when compared to what's not been happening in the past. And these are signs of times to come.
All right, these are signs of the times to come, and thank you so much. I think that's for all that perspective that you bring to our that you brought to our viewers, and we are all obviously delighted at India's incredible feat, and with the Tiranga flying high atop the moon, no less. Thank you so much for joining this broadcast. Thank you for joining us, viewers. All my best wishes, all my cheers to you, and to our wonderful scientists at ISRO who sort of made India achieve this huge, huge milestone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.